Go. I hear you like to hear a guy named Rockin' Shane rock talkin', jive talkin'. Word on the street is you like to have fun with this man. In so many ways. We jive talk, heavy metal and rock. Come on, motherfucker, baby, let's jive. What's going on, you fine and fancy, fine folks, wonderful folks? Can you smell it in the air? I don't know what it is, but something wonderful. I mean, I just feel like there's this wonderful energy that has hit me today in such a fantastic way. I want to welcome you one and all to this fine podcast. I appreciate you hanging out with me because this is my time to kind of vent and read about all those stories. I'm a heavy metal, hard rock nut. I love music. I have always loved music. I love news stories involving it, and that's what we do here. We read the stories. I know when you see like the names of the people think, oh, he's going to be interviewing all those people, but that's boring. I'd rather do the clips like, Blabbermouth is wonderful because what they do is they take all the good bits from podcasts that other people have done, and then they put the hits and misses here, and then we get into those because I'm very interested in kind of the other side of heavy metal and hard rock, as well as the music side. Talking too much, not making any sense. Welcome to episode 131 of Jive Talkin with Shane Diablo, your best damn friend here. You don't know it, but yes, indeed, I am your friend. Just an energy in the air today. It's like pulsating and vibrating and everything, and you just say something, there is goodness in the energy fields today. Now this face right here would tell you there's nothing goodness. This guy, this is Blackie Lawless here, this picture we're looking at, and he looks like he's either looking at a child, one of his children, that's about to piss him off, or someone is saying something to him that he's just about to cry. And either of those we don't want. But we love Blackie Lawless, right? He has announced a tour, which is cray-cray. I'm going to it because it's going to be Wasp performing the first record in its entirety. And also Death Angel and this great band called Unto Others is going to be on the bill too. And it's like, there you go. I am going. Wasp, Blackie Lawless rules out guest appearances by former members on the upcoming tour. No Tony Richardson. No Randy Piper. No Chris Holmes. I bet Chris Holmes will probably pipe off something about this story, but let's get into it and find out what's happening. There's very little chance of that happening, and I can tell you true, Mr. Eddie Trunk. That's right, he's on. During an appearance on May 29th's episode of Sirius XM's Trunk Nation with Eddie Junk in the Trunk, Blackie Lawless spoke about the 40th anniversary of the release of Wasp's first album. Now, that old fuddy-duddy tour that he did there, right? It was called the 40th anniversary tour, but in the COVID, blah, 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 it ended up being 41 or whatever. But now he's going to erase all that 40th anniversary stuff. This is the 40th anniversary of the first album. That makes sense? Have a sip. Blackie Lawless spoke about the 40th anniversary of the release of Wasp's first album to celebrate their classic metal album. Wasp will, for the first time in 40 years, play the entire album from top to bottom, start to finish, on a fall 2024 North American tour dubbed Album One Alive this fall. Support on the trek will be from Death Angel and Unto Others. Wow. And you're saying, This is like the dream, because you go, fuck, I'm going to go see Unto Others and Death Angel. That's going to sell the place out. But then you're like, wait, you're putting Wasp on the bill? Oh, really? They're only doing the first record? I'm in. These tickets will go fast, people. Asked by host Eddie Trunk, if it was always the plan for Wasp to celebrate the debut LP, the 40th anniversary, by playing the album in its entirety, Mr. Lawless? Yes and no. It had been talked about, and I would love to sit here and tell you that it was part of a master plan, but it wasn't until we were doing the last tour that it really, a few things dawned on me while we were doing that tour, in no small part. When we did the meet and greets with fans on the Wasp tour, it was the first time I'd ever done that. And I realized not long into it that I was getting as much, if not more, from those people that were coming to meets and greets. I was getting more than they were out of it. I was getting more. They paid the $100 plus, but I seemed to be getting more. Not just the money part, but the connection part. Like, if you are trying to talk to somebody at a show, or in a situation where there's a lot of other people and fans are talking to you and you just cannot communicate the way you like we are right now, Eddie. Oh yes, we are talking. It's too loud in those rooms, Eddie. When people are talking at a concert and you've just rocked out tight and right, and they want to bust your ears open, but there's another band playing or something like that. Oh boy, I know. But in those meet and greets, that was a controlled situation. Because I am Blackie Lawless of Wasp, it was me that was controlling. And I was able to talk to those guys, just go back and forth and have a dialogue with them and listen to them closely, not like what I do on a regular basis. They paid good money to see me. Now I need to look like I'm intently interested. And like all other artists that are out there, and I don't care who you are, we all suffer from, we live in a bubble to a large degree, and you think you're hearing what a fan base is saying, but you really aren't. Nay, you are not. Not until you have an opportunity to sit down with them and on a daily basis and listen to them talk and talk. Sinkin Stanley was there, remember that? He was at one of them meet and greets, and he got him to say, yes, I like the backing tracks, Mr. Sinkin Stanley. I certainly appreciate getting their input. But as they're talking and I'm listening to them, and I realize that there's more going on than even I understand. We put the last tour together. I told my tour manager the whole thing was going to look like some sort of a circus sideshow. And I told him, I said, when people walk into the room, I want them to feel like they've been transported into another environment. So what we did is, and we didn't even know it at the time that it was available. We discovered that you use fog in shows. Well, to create that fog, it's done electronically. It's literally called fog juice, you see. You have to put the fog juice inside of the fog machine for the fog pots. Well, in the early days, you could get it in a strawberry and vanilla flavor because fog without it's like vape juice. Fog without it kind of didn't smell great. So artists are complaining about it. Now, you can get it in a bunch of different scents. They got a cherry mango. We discovered that there was 2 of them. There was one called popcorn. Oh yeah, that's what someone wants to smell the whole goddamn time you're playing Fuck Like a Beast. Popcorn, yum. there was one called Popcorn and another called Cotton Candy. And so I told my tour manager, I said, I want to fill the room with this scent. When people walk in the door, I want them to not really even be conscious of what's happening. We don't want them to just go see a rock show. We want to transport them into a different space. And it worked far better than I even ever thought that it would. Well, again, talking to the fan base throughout the tour and doing those meet and greets, they call them, it hit me that it was possible is that it hit me that what is possible is that if it's a band who actually lived through a time period where we're talking about right now, and specifically this would have been 1984, can you then create an environment where they not just come to see the show, you can take them back to the time period. All right, we're done with that. So congratulations. He didn't even mention anything about, asked if album in entirety. Yeah. Are you going to play the album in its entirety, exact song order as it appears on the original LP? We're gonna do it in its entirety, Eddie. From top to bottom, just the way the record is that you have. But I don't own that record. So we will begin with I Want to Be Somebody, which we have never done before. Yeah, you got to hold on to that sucker. I don't think Eddie's going to get around to it. Tony Richards. Ask my trunk. Would you be open to any of the former Wasp members who played on the Wasp album? You know, like guitarist Chris Holmes or guitarist Randy Piper, all the guys that Shane was just mentioning, although he got the drummer's name wrong. Tony Richards, and he constantly calls him Tony Richardson, but it's not, it's Tony Richards. Making guest appearances at any shows on the upcoming tour? Blackie said, I've spoken to Randy. Over the years, I've spoken to Randy. Not recently. I didn't speak to him like the other day, but I've spoken to Randy over the years. But not the other two. I'm sure I don't really need to go into the state of what might exist with the others. I think the fan base out there is pretty aware. Let's get into Sebastian here. Old Sabatino. He's lunging at old FOZZY. Chris Jericho. He's lunging at him again. New story. Sebastian Bach on Chris Jericho. I'm as much of a wrestler as he is a singer. Now, Chris Jericho is a sweet guy. He likes to get in the ring and, you know, beef them up, beef taters and all that. And he likes to do power slams on the body and you know, do those power slaps with on the chest and stuff when he's in the wrestling ring. But when he's just being himself, he's kind of he doesn't want to muddy up the waters. Well, in a new interview with Metal Hammer magazine, Sebastian Bach was asked if he would if he'd ever do a sing-off with frontman FOZZY frontman and wrestling superstar Chris Jericho. Please get your brains together. Guys, I'm in a good mood, but I'm in a weird mood. But I was also, as I'm reading, sometimes I start thinking about things that pertain to the stories that we do. So then I goof up what I'm reading. Because what I was thinking to myself was, haven't we been kind of through this before where there was some kind of alleged, like Sebastian called him out and said, I'll do a sing-off against you or something? Sebastian Bach, wrestler with a sing-off with Sebastian Bach because I'm as much of a wrestler as he is a singer. Bach's latest comments come nearly 4 years after the former Skid Row singer blasted Jericho over allegations that the FOZZY frontman uses pre-recorded vocal tracks during live performances. Guys, I promise we'll stop this story right away if it starts going into backing tracks, okay? I know how you guys feel about him. You're like, if this son of a bitch lunges into another backing tracks thing, I'm out. Bach initially accused Jericho of miming to a tape. Now, this part doesn't count. Okay? At FOZZY's concerts in a social media post in July 2020. In response, the wrestler turned rocker insisted that he had never mimed anything ever and challenged Bach to a sing-off with no effect, no tuning, no bullshit, saying, Baz is a great singer. See how nice he is? But I'm better. I don't think about that. I think that's true. But if Chris Jericho was to do some of them big beefy power slaps to the chest on Sebastian, he'd crumble like a little, little deck of cards there, house of cards. In the months that ensued, Bach brought up Jericho's alleged lip syncing on several occasions, most recently in January 2021 in an interview with the Aquarian. Is this just old hubbub, guys? The Aquarian asked special feud. Chris, Sebastian Bach said, I have an open mind about everyone. If I read on blabbermouth.com that some band says we're the future of rock and roll and we are the next thing after the Rolling Stones, I think this must be incredible. Did Fozzman say that about their band? What have I been missing out on? So I check out one video during which the singer was 100% miming to a tape on stage. The rock pile in Toronto, I thought to myself, that's weird. That's not the next Rolling Stone, so I watched another video. Oh boy, he's watching the videos. Where he was opening up for Nickelback. Is he pissed off he's not? Sebastian's pissed off he's not. He didn't open for Nickelback. In an arena, and again, he's miming to a tape. You can go watch it yourself. All right, we're over that. Guys, let's get into Bruce Dickinson. He says, thank goodness he's got such a good voice. He's lucky that he has a strong and powerful voice. And I appreciate that. Little off topic, but still kind of on topic. One of the stories we won't be doing here today is the Serj Tankian System of a Down, SOD, as some of the kids call him. He says that the biggest rock and roll experience of his life was seeing Iron Maiden back in 1984. And that's what really opened his eyes up. That's a good concert will do that to you, won't it? You see some concert, I don't know what it is, but it's almost a religious experience for me because I'm moving the whole time. I'm bouncing, I'm rocking, I don't get in the pit anymore. I'm singing along, I'm losing my voice, I'm doing all of it. Sometimes I'm even kind of, at Iron Maiden show, I teared up. I hadn't seen him in a long, long time. Last time I'd seen him was Fear of the Dark. And then, all of a sudden, there's Iron Maiden, and I hear Moonchild piping on. And I says, oh my God, I can't believe it. And then I rocked out some more to that concert, and then Wasted Years came on. I said, wasted time, I was searching for those wasted. I said, oh my God. The meatheads that I was with, they're like, dude, are you crying? Bro, look at me. Just look up. Don't keep looking at the floor. Are you crying? I said, no, just a bug got in my eye. It's an outdoor venue. Bruce Dickinson, I'm lucky. Thank God he's got a strong voice. In a new interview with Oust France, Iron Maiden's Bruce Dickinson spoke about the evolution of his singing voice since he became a professional vocalist more than 4 decades ago. He transcribed by Blabbermouth. I'm lucky I have a strong and powerful voice. I couldn't have done it for 30 years ago. I couldn't have done it 30 years ago because I was so busy in a race to see who could sing the highest, who could do this, who could say the words the fastest. 'Cause you're young and everything is a fight and a battle and a win and a competition, and I'm not in a competition with anything now except truth, justice, and the American way. No, the British way. What I want is authenticity of emotion. And that sounds boring, but actually, if you put it in context with some like grrr type metal, it's so powerful. regarding the connection he feels with the audience during his live concerts. What did Dick Man say? What did he say? The best thing in the world, the best feeling in the world for me as a singer is when you get a great sound for your voice and everything on stage and everything works. And you know that you're moving people with it. That's it. That's what you do it. That's why you do it. That's the drug, of course. The opposite is also true. It's the worst place to be when it doesn't work. Like when someone's smoking a Jaybird out there in the audience. I mean, go back and watch Live After Death and look at the cloudy goddamn skies. I mean, they got 15 acres of fog on stage, but look at that audience. You're going to see a hell of a lot of marijuana smoke, but now he ain't like it. They don't let you vape inside, do they? Do they let you vape? I mean, I think people do vape. When I vaped a long time ago, I think I vaped in a concert. And now I think, well, that's kind of rude. If it's inside, no, wait, you can't, right? They got the little, if it's a smaller venue, of course you don't do that in any kind of an arena. They don't allow you to do anything, except for smoke a Jaybird if you can sneak it in. But cigarettes and stuff like that you got to go to smoking areas, yes? After playing 2 warm-up shows at the Whiskey A Go-Go in West Hollywood, California, Dickinson officially kicked off his first solo tour in more than 20 years on April 15th at the Observatory in Santa Ana, California. Joining the Iron Maiden singer on this trek in his current backing band featuring Dave Marino on drums, Mysteria keyboards, Tanya O'Callaghan on bass, alongside the group's latest edition Swedish guitarist, Timu. Is it going to be Kiko? I don't even want to look over there and see what it is. Swedish guitarist, songwriter, and multi-platinum credited producer Philip Naslund. Oh. And Swiss Sessions. Is it going to be Kiko? And touring guitarist Chris Delk. Don't make a name like that. You can't have consonants doing that. RCQ. That doesn't make no sense. Chris Deselkrick, who played on Dickinson's Rain on the Grave single. Bruce's longtime guitarist and collaborator Roy Z. Ramirez is not part of the touring lineup. Prior to the April 12th Whiskey A Go-Go show, Bruce last performed with his solo band in August 2002 at the legendary Wacken Open Air Festival. Is that all he's going to rattle on about? Dickinson's solo album, The Mandrake Project, arrived on March 1st via BMG. That stands for what, guys? It's right there on the tip of my head. B Music Group. Bananas. No, I can't remember. Let's get into this. Look at this sweet boy. Sweet older gentleman with a massive cross. You look at that hairy chest. You don't put a big necklace on like that. It gets caught in the hair. This dude's got a hairy back. This is Robert Sweet, everyone. If you're just listening, you're like, who is he talking about? We're looking at Robert Sweet in a hat with a big necklace with a giant crucifix. Is it unacceptable? And I'm asking this in all seriousness. Is it unacceptable? You know, you see a lot of crosses, a lot of people wearing the big crosses, but is it kind of a no-no to have the Jesus on the cross? That's only for like the religious bits and ceremonies and stuff. So if this guy had a big, you know, that's big enough to have a Star Wars action figure sized Jesus on that thing. Is that kind of like, hey, buddy, what are you doing? I'm asking for me. Now all of a sudden, I feel like my head's getting stuffy. Everyone in this house is sick. And now I feel like, literally while I've been doing this podcast, I feel it coming on. Anyways, Robert Sweet from Stryper, if you don't know, he is a fine, fine fellow. He's the sweetest boy. We've talked about this many times. if you were to ask Mrs. Mama Sweet who the Sweet boys are, Robert is the sweetest boy. And Michael Sweet, whom I sometimes mess up and call Matthew Sweet, he was a rambunctious little ding-dong that got into a big couple of goofs and stuff, like he broke a window once. Because he's still a good Christian boy, so he broke a window once, and he opened Mrs. Tallahassee's little white picket fence open and let her chihuahua out in the street. It got ran over. So this is Robert, and he's the sweetest boy. Let's see what he's got to say, because he says, in a way, the music industry is, well, it's kind of the devil. It's kind of the devil's industry. I wanted to see what he had to say about it. And once again, his brother was on this podcast, Sofa King Cool magazine. And, you know, he probably had to verify, you're not trying to make some kind of a sideswipe by saying so fucking cool, right? You mean Sofa King, this interview is taking place in a, used furniture store, correct? In a new interview with Sofa King Cool magazine, Striper drummer Robert Sweet, the sweetest boy, said that the band was never fully embraced by the heavy metal and hard rock communities, largely because of the group's Christian lyrics. They did not embrace us. If we were singing about the devil, they would have been happy as a clam, but they did not embrace us. I think, and a lot of people have told us, especially in the industry, if you guys weren't doing this Jesus thing, and we know what you mean, and we know you mean it, okay? We know you mean it, which we do. You guys would have sold many more millions of records. That's not true. And the reason for that is a good tune and a good rock record will sell. And people will go, they're what? Look at Rage Against the Machine. Political band. People are going, they need to stay out of politics. It's like, so that goes to tell you right there, people love Rage Against the Machine, don't know what they're singing about at the time. I'm going to go ahead and say Robert Sweet it's not true. You have you did sell lots of millions of records though, right? Because Always There for You, and those were big hits. Robert said, and really, I want everyone to know that that's the truth, because radio never played us. And it was a miracle we got on MTV. I saw you all the time. But still, to this day, radio has played us very, very little. But we were willing to take that hit financially, and it's been rough at times. It's been really unfair because a lot of people have come up and said, hey man, I'm not a Christian. You guys are one of the best bands I've ever heard. And I'm like, well, great, thank you. Can I tell you about our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ? We don't look at ourselves as any better than anyone else. But we had to stick with it. We had to make sure that that message of Jesus was first and foremost and front, no matter what people said. And man, were we ever given a hard time? That was one hell of a sentence to say. Were we ever given a hard time? I'm telling you, I didn't know so many people were going to come against us back in the 80s. And even up to this day, but it's all worth it. Even if you didn't sell a damn record, if you're doing it for your Savior, there you go, buddy. You should be happy as you say, no problem. You should have answered this question. That's insignificant. Money means nothing. Record sales mean nothing. Asked if there was any bands that gave Striper a hard time for being a Christian band, or maybe didn't want to take Striper out on tour with them because of Striper's lyrical message, Robert said, well, nobody wanted to take us out. So we were forced to headline. No one wanted to go out with us. We wanted to open for whoever we could. I always thought it would be so cool for some reason back in the day, Striper and Slayer. And that would have been bloodshed every single show. And I would have just thought it would be a cool tour to see, but that would have been absolute bloodshed every evening. Spiritual battles taking place. The devil, Jesus, the devil, Jesus. they would have turned down a tour. Kerry King would have never asked them, but they would have instantly turned down a tour with Slayer. I even heard System of a Down talk about it, going, that was the miserable fucking experience. It was, to open up for Slayer, because people ain't want no hear nothing, no. They want to hear Slayer. That was an honor to us. We had always hoped to be able to, what? No one wanted to go out with us. We wanted to open for whoever we could. That was an honor to us. We had always hoped to be able to open for so many of our heroes and bands we grew up listening to. But just back in the day, I think people had the wrong idea. They really did. And they were afraid of it. So it forced us to go headline. Make more money that way. And it really, maybe that kind of helped our career. I don't know. I felt like maybe God was with us saying, no, you're not gonna go that route. He's too busy to be figuring out your touring schedule. Even though you guys are in good with God, okay? He ain't care about your schedule. Why, he could have just snapped his fingers and had a couple of bands say, yeah, we'll go on tour with you. No, you're not going to go that route. You're going to go this route. And it was different because most bands don't do that. When you're starting out, you go out with bigger acts. And we've done many, many festivals. But that's been primarily, in my opinion, since we started up again in 2003. But back in the day, back in the 80s, what? That's a lot of mashugana. And we've done that many, many festivals. But that's been primarily, in my opinion, since we started up again in 2003. But back in the day, are you hearing this? But back in the day, back in the 80s, when we were doing the really big coliseums and stuff, I hope we took a breath after that. It was pretty much us just heading straight down the road and headlining. I think that's true because I remember vaguely in my area, it would be like Stryper and a couple local bands. Does that make sense? Anybody back in the day, if you went and saw Stryper, early on in the 80s or whatever, that it would be like them and a couple of local bands? It's always great when you give the local bands a fucking shot, okay? It's always great when they do that. When they say, hey, we got a little extra, we could sell a few more tickets here or whatever. Not to toot my own horn or anything, but Die Monster Die. My old band, horror punk, horror metal band. Anytime someone like Typo Negative or Gwar or Celtic Frost or just Misfits or whoever, it was like, put them on. Put them on the bill because we'll sell another 50, 100 tickets. And it's always cool when bands do that. And if I had more time, I'd tell you about the story about Dave Brockie and how he was going to hook a Die Monster Die up with a metal blade and have the Slave Pit do stuff for us, which turned out to be complete bullshit. But it's a great story. Maybe one day. Anyways, guys, he's going to say something about his brother, the Sweet Boy. Let's get into that, and then we move on. I remember my brother, Stryper frontman. You know him? Familiar? Matthew Sweet? Michael Sweet. And I spoke with a Satanist. My brother spoke with a Satanist, I think it was. I want to say France. He came out, the guy was so complimentary. He wanted to speak to Michael and I. And he came down and he said, "You guys are the biggest white metal band in the world. Why aren't you out there playing the big festival next door? Why are you playing this 3,000 seat place that's sold out?" I like that he put that in. Why are you playing this 3,000 seater that's completely sold out? You should be over on that stage over there. And we said, well, yeah, we'd like that. But he was so complimentary of us, even though he was a dirty Satanist. And yet, he was very open that he was a real deal Satanist. But he loved Stryper. See, that's, Christian metal fans can like Slayer. You can like other things than Christian, because that's what this guy's saying. He's a Satanist. And he says, I love Stryper. And that's always been our hope. Okay, good job. Very quickly, guys, we're going to get over to Mark Osegueda. I found this interesting. Of course, he's the singer for Death Angel, the fine band that will be accompanying Mr. Blackie Lawless on his tour. But I thought this was interesting. I wanted to get into this a little bit because he didn't tell Death Angel that he was joining Kerry King's band until like 4 months ago. Mark, what in the hell are you doing, you damn ding-dong? If you weren't such a damn good singer, we'd kick you right on out of here. But go on, go do your Kerry King thing. We'll just postpone everything we've got going on. During an appearance on the latest episode of Let There Be Talk podcast with the rock and roll comedian Dean Del Rey, Mark Osegueda was asked how he broke the news to the Death Angel, his bandmates, that he was joining Kerry King in the solo project from the Slayer guitarist. The singer said, "Oh man, with this one, it's tough. I really had to respect the NDA, non-disclosure agreement." You know what that is? That's a legal term I learned. NDA. Hold on, it's coming back to me. It's an NDA. It's a non-disclosure agreement I signed with Kerry's team. Oh, I really did. And it was eating me. Because Death Angel has been touring constantly. We tour constantly. When the world shut down due to the coronavirus pandemic, see, it's already escaping my memory. Give me another year, I'll go, what? What are you talking about, world pandemic, huh? When the world reopened, we went right back out on the road. And this was all happening. And let's not forget their drummer damn near died. Carol? He was in the hospital with that stuff. They didn't think he was going to make it. Now he's good. And this was all happening. I was starting to do these demos during the pandemic. And then after that, I was regularly seeing Kerry. So all that time from 2020, when he starts to do demos, not once did he have a couple of beers one night and go, all right, bro, I got to fucking tell you something. You got to promise. I signed an NDA. You got to fucking promise me here, right? You didn't, Rob, you didn't tell him? Guitar player? I was starting to do these demos of the pandemic, and then after that, I was regularly seeing Kerry to do more demos for his debut solo album. When the world opened and Kerry's record was done for a year before it came out, and I'd be on tour with Death Angel, and there was some nights where me and Rob, Death Angel guitarist, this is where they're drinking the booze. We're in the lounge, yeah. Just me and him, drinking. He's telling a damn fib right now, he told him. He said, Rob, you know I love you, man, right? I mean, you know that I love you, right? There's going to be something happening in the future, but you shall not sigh, and you shall not cry, and you shall not be worried. We're in the lounge, just me and him, naked, drinking, listening to music, and just laughing and talking like we do. We love to talk and laugh and smile at each other. And it just took everything in me not to tell him what was going on. You know what the first thing Rob said was? Dude, all of those nights on tour, drinking, me and you, alone in the lounge, naked, drinking, and you held this back, you son of a bitch. It's so hard to not just say, look, bro. This is one of those things that just like it or not, some people will think I'm an ass about it. But I just kind of really I promised Kerry, man. I signed an NDA. I promised everyone I wasn't going to let anyone know. He's a man of his word. I hope Kerry King doesn't do anything silly and stupid like start swapping members of that band out. Keep this band the way it is. Don't, well, I'm branching out. Don't branch out. Just keep doing Slayer, Diet Slayers. Well, when I brought the keyboard player in, I figured Mark's voice just isn't working out the way it used to. We were all NDA people as well, so it's fucked up. But I waited and let him know through email, same day that the official announcement of Kerry's new band happened in early February. And then shortly thereafter, I talked to Rob and Ted Aguilar, Death Angel guitarist, elaborating on how he approached informing his longtime bandmates with his involvement with Kerry's new band. He said, I said in the email, look, this is the toughest thing for me to tell you. No, it's not. The toughest thing would be I quit. And how I worded it in one aspect to them was just pretty much, this is going to be either the most surprising thing in the world to you or / the most obvious thing in the world to you. And I even said at the end, because it was an email to all the guys that I sent them. And I just said, take some time to really process all this before you respond, before we talk. Let all this kind of sink in. And then when we're missing a we there, and then when we come together, if you talk to me and then we all talk, and shortly thereafter, I talk. Oh, what? Emails, guys. I just said, take some time, process. Let all this sink in. If you want to talk to me, then we'll all talk. And shortly thereafter, I talked to Ted and Rob. And they were still a little sideswiped, quite frankly, for sure. For sure. I couldn't see it I could see it in their faces. They were so jelly. They were so fucking jelly. They knew I was going to make good money. They knew that, Kerry called on me to be that singer, so I've got a backup job. If you try any funny business. We did a FaceTime, kind of a Zoom call thing. FaceTime's kind of a thing, it's kind of like Zoom. The three of us, me, Ted, and Rob, and they were both definitely still in kind of a state of processing it. But by the end of that call, after we talked for about an hour, they were supportive for sure. Happy for me. So happy. And they both did say, now that you mention it, man, it is kind of the most obvious fucking thing in the world. Because I said that in the email to them, and then they did say that back to me. But it was tough, man. I'm not going to lie. It's tough because we've been through so much together, especially me and Rob. I mean, not to take away from shit. Ted's been in the band since 2001, and now Damian Sisson, bass, and Will Carroll, drums, have been in the band for well over a decade now. So it's cray-cray. All right. Tom Morello also quickly on, he explains his guitar sound. How he gets them. And like I've mentioned before on the Jive Talkin with Shane Diablo podcast, he's done a master class on it, and it's fantastic. It's one of the better master classes that I saw before I canceled my account. That one and Danny Elfman's really good. Look at this guy. This might be the exact same room he's in his master class. But he's got his shades on. He says, look, guys, I'm a cool dude. Tom Morello explains how he developed his unique and creative guitar playing style. Tom Morello's innovative guitar playing in Rage Against the Machine defied the definition of what a guitar virtuoso should be, combining guitar tones and effects with unprecedented creativity. Tom spearheaded a fusion of classic rock, punk, and hip-hop unlike anything the world has ever seen or will ever see again, while simultaneously writing era-defining riffs for both RATM, that's Rage Against the Machine, in case you're not keeping up, and Audio Slave. Before we get into this a little bit, though, I do want to mention a thing that I watched on about Tom Morello and Audio Slave. I've been listening to some of that stuff, and it's good. And it's got Chris Cornell, the fantastic Soundgarden singer, rest in peace, passed away at 50, I believe, 50 years of age. But he said that guy was a soulful, sad character. He said like a fucking vampire. But they talked about how they went to, the Rage Against the Machine guys, after Zach De La Rocha left the band, wanted to continue on together. So, Audio Slave is basically Rage Against the Machine with Chris Cornell. Went up to old Crazy Hippie Man. What's the Crazy Hippie Man? Producer guy? I can't remember his name now. It's escaping me, but you know who I'm talking about. But he said that, who should we get? And Crazy Hippie Man, producer man, did Beastie Boys and Danzig and everything, Def Jam. He said, Chris Cornell, let's do it. Let's go right up the street. And he said he lived at this high thing in Beverly Hills, this mansion that looked dark and creepy like a goddamn vampire. And they went up there and they asked him if he wanted to join the band. And they said when he opened the door up that Crazy Hippie Man, whom I can't remember his name, they drove Tom Morello's minivan up there. Then he said, Crazy Hippie guy doesn't go anywhere without a Rolls Royce. He likes to get around. But they all climbed in the Astro van and went up there. But at some point, Crazy Hippie guy, whatever his goddamn, Rick Rubin, Jesus, finally came to me, said, let's get the fuck out of here. This place is creepy. But he joined the band and so on and so forth. Back to his wonderful playing style, and then we get into your comments. Asked in a new interview with Rolling Stone uns Germany how he uns developed his unique approach. Morello said, for many years, I was practicing my 8 hours a day. I was trying to play like Randy Rhoads and Eddie Van Halen and all of them. And for me, the breakthrough was the toggle switch on the guitar. Now, at the time, when I was doing my practicing, the cool guitarist was the Eddie Van Halen guitar that only had one knob, the volume knob. And my guitar, which was a Gibson Explorer, was saddled with all of these very unfashionable knobs and switches and things like that. And one day I stumbled upon working the toggle switch with the wah pedal. And all of a sudden the guitar sounded a little bit like a keyboard. And I didn't go like, oh, eureka, I'm now going to invent some new form of playing. It felt weird to me and different. So I kind of had that in my back pocket. But there was a singular moment in the early history of Rage Against the Machine, my rock group, where we were playing a show with 2 cover bands, and each of those bands had a shredding guitar player in them, like a really technically proficient player in them, like a really technically proficient player in them. And I thought to myself, if we're playing some crappy gig in the San Fernando Valley with 2 other guys who are doing the same thing I'm trying to do, I'm going to get off of that hamster wheel. Before I practice 8 hours a day scales, after that, I was practicing 8 hours a day. That's not too many hours. Before so you're saying you changed? Before, I was practicing 8 hours a day scales. After that, I was practicing 8 hours a day animal noises and robot sounds and hurricane noises and whatnot. And I really felt that I was finding my own voice on the instrument. For me, it did take those years of amassing some technique in order to finally have the revelation that my own sound was worth pursuing. All right, that sounds good. Asked if he felt something was missing in rock guitar at the time when he grew up, surrounded by shredders like Eddie Van Halen, Yngwie Malmsteen, and Steve Vai, Tom said, "Wow, the thing that I thought was missing in rock was it came more from the lyric and the philosophical content than from the guitar playing. I love those guitar players, and I greatly admire them and tried my best to play their solos. But I was also a fan of the Gang of Four and Andy Gill and Alan Holdsworth and people whose music sounded very much outside of the stereotypical shredder stuff. And I would look to sort of make an amalgamation. Oh my God, make an amalgamation of having there be the ability to lean in the technique, but not to depend upon it. But for me, the revelation was, and one of the reasons why I think that the music I've been involved in is different from other music is, in a way, I still have the shredder in me. Deep inside, it is there. The shredding guitar player can come out at will and at want. But my toggle switches stop it. I still have that gunslinger mentality in me. Starting to sound a little bit like Blackie Lawless there. Let's get into your comments. It's a light comment day, guys. But we've got our tried and trues here. You know, by God, I know who will be soiling me over. These two right here, I mean, we got 3 comments, but these two right here, they're going to be scooping the shovels of dirt right on me someday. Tried and true. Look at them, just hanging out. Mike Buchanan, Miss Althea, and then Mike Binkowski, and it looks to me as though he's breaking a rule here, but he's our pal from Poland. Is he smoking a Jaybird? Let's get into it. We got Mike Buchanan coming in with all his goodies and stuff. And I've got a movie mention, too, that I want to talk about. And I'm going to beg and plead you to not watch it. I hope I remember. Let's get into it. Mike Buchanan says, as mentioned on episode 129, I have a doozy of a movie that are bad, but we love them anyways. Robo Vampire, 1988. Before I get into my review, think RoboCop meets vampires meets Kung Fu. That's great. That's almost a Danzig film. Something similar to that. This movie has something for everyone. The film is the most ambitious thing I've ever witnessed, and I am taken aback every time I watch it. It fails on more levels. That's what I like to hear. It fails on more levels than anything I've ever seen. But at the same time, you have to applaud everything you see. It's a movie that cannot be explained, both in terms of plot and in enjoyment. From drug smugglers to kung fu masters to a soldier brought back to life as a RoboCop ripoff, to probably the best thing about the movie, vampires that hop because they can't walk. Is this Japanese? Because their vampires do that. They hop. If maybe Miss Althea will know a thing or two about this. Like I said, this movie's something for everyone. A must view on that site that makes. Like I said, this movie has something for everybody. A must view on that site that makes fun of movies with robots and people. Oh, okay. You're talking about Mystery Science Theater 3000? Can't say the real name as YouTube keeps deleting my comments. Really? Sons of bitches. I'm calling. What's her name? Margaret Ann Miller. She's the CEO of YouTube. I'm calling her right now. As soon as I get done here. I'll bet you the first thing that happens when you call YouTube, it's like, YouTube, hello, yes, and how many subscribers do you have? And I said, I got almost 20,000. They go, plonk, hang up. 5 million, we'll send you on to Margaret Ann Miller's office, please. Thank you. That's interesting. YouTube keeps deleting my comments. Or watch the original like I did, or make your own laughs with your friends. Either way, grab your favorite beverage, sit in your favorite chair, pop some popcorn, and press play. Mike Buchanan says, I would say no, 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 don't do it. Don't crop dust the bus driver. Okay. But before you do, let me get it. What? You're saying no, no, no. I would say no, 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 no. Don't do it. Don't crop dust the bus driver. But before you do, let me get my gas mask on first. Okay. I couldn't do it. This bus driver, have I told you guys about the bus driver? It's the same guy every morning. He gives me the shh when I start talking. I can't even sit down in the morning for 5 bus stops. So as soon as I get on the bus, hook my bike on there and all that, get on the bus, pay the charge. So, and then he stands there and proceeds to talk to me while he drives the only way I get away from that is as soon as someone else gets on. Because as soon as he's got to finagle with someone else, I skip off to sit down. It's true. So no crop dusting, but that's not the same guy, by the way. The morning bus driver is not the grumpy old bastard that looks out the window that I want to crop dust. Mike Buchanan says, I have read other articles saying that Sebastian's return to Skid Row will never happen in a million years. Not sure as to who they would get, but Girish Pradhan would be fantastic. He's going to say it right here. Even if that would cause Girish and the Chronicles to be no more. But isn't that him in that other band that we did a reaction to? Isn't that Girish that's in that with George Lynch, Jeff Pillboy, the Pill Man, Pill Popper? Okay. Mike Buchanan says, okay, why bring back Creed? ? No one asked for that. Can't say they deserve the backlash, but they were just not for me as a musical choice to listen to. I will say I am a closeted fan of Nickelback. You know, I don't even know if you need to be in the closet for this band, but you know, Everclear. I fucking love them. Even though I will buy you a new house, perfect, shiny, and new. Should I be secret about that? I remember back in high school, I had to be quiet about liking Depeche Mode. But I was a huge Waver fan because it was Dr. Demento. I've talked about this. You guys know. Saturday or Sunday nights. Was it Sunday night? Yeah, Sunday night. It was on the New Wave station. So all of it. New Order, Depeche Mode, all of that. I heard The Cure. Listened to all of that before Dr. Demento would come on. So you had to be quiet about being liking Depeche Mode and stuff. But get back to me. Tell me if Everclear is a band that I shouldn't be saying anything about. I mean, you can say whatever you want nowadays, but back in the day, I don't know why, but I feel like Everclear is one of those bands that people go, oh, dude, you like them? Okay, let's forget about the ego trip of Gene and let's start a petition to get Ace a TV show in similar fashion to Ozzy's TV show. Yes, I'd watch the crap out of that. I mean, I would absolutely tune in for every episode. And it wouldn't matter if he was just doing his laundry. I watched a video of him just climbing on a motorcycle. He's going to be playing some kind of motorcycle festival. And I says, oh, Christ, I just want to watch. Just climb on it and rev it up. I just want to see it, you know. Didn't he have a song? Rev it up. And you're gonna rev it up. Freely's Comet tonight. We're gonna rev it up. All I'm hearing in my head after Carrie on why we need fire in metal is Beavis proclaiming his love for fire. Yeah, I love fire. That kid is weird. End scene. Watching the video of Ozzy music and the bear makes me, what? Watching that video of Ozzy's music and the bear makes me miss the show Ozzy and Jack's World Tour. I've seen some of them episodes. They're pretty entertaining, but I can't remember where I saw them at. And for some reason, I just got locked out of the Hulu. And it wasn't my account from the beginning. I think they're starting to pull that stuff where it's like, if you're on a different IP address, pal, you ain't doing it. Time for your jokes. Jive Talkin Jokes of the Week. Care of Mike Buchanan. I ran into my old English teacher today. He said, good to see ye. Good to see ye. You threw me off with that E on the good. I ran into my old English teacher today. He said, good to see ye. I just saw a real idiot at the gym. He put a water bottle in the Pringles holder on the treadmill. That's good. That's going to work. I'm thinking of writing a book of fish puns. So if you know of any good ones, let me know. My wife and I laugh at how competitive we are, but I laugh more. Doctor, you have Tom Jones syndrome. Me, is that common? Doctor, it's not unusual to be loved by anyone. It's not unusual to hang fun with anyone. But when I see you hanging about with anyone, it's not unusual to see me cry. I wanna die. I mean, that's depressing shit, isn't it? He sees that girl out and about with another guy and he wants to die. There's your heart, my friend. Good job, good job. Miss Althea coming in. She's got stuff. Let's do it. And get in about the vampires. I believe Japanese vampires, there's a lot of them Japanese vampire movies where they hop. And they have like some kind of paper, like their burial prayer or something. The dumbstruck fool says on the matter of gassing the bus driver, I have lived the past 30 years with a man who holds absolutely no shame in doing such things, especially when it involves a situation of someone disrespecting him or me. So, whether or not it's okay or right, I can't particularly say. Take that and your gastrointestinal health for whatever it is worth. So Dan just lets him rip. He's like, hey, babe, give me another Coca-Cola out of the fridge, right? Mexican Coke, right? I want the bottles. And then he just, you ever tried those Mexican Cokes? They're fucking delicious. Real cane sugar or whatever in them. God. Miss Althea on Skid Row. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, question mark. But then it could maybe happen. But there are legalities, question mark. Now it's not going to happen again because of toxic history, question mark. I will just sit back and wait for the legality story to come around again. I would rather hear that the 5 original members are going to reunite for a bowling date at this point. I would rather hear that the 5 original guys, that's Rachel and all of them with the Sabatino, are going to reunite for a bowling date at this point. Maybe if Rachel landed a 7-10 split, everyone would stop blaming him and his ear-to-nose chain that I want to hang laundry on for everything. What you would want to do in that situation is put the hanger on through the loop that hooks the chain goes through the nose and the ear loop. You put the hanger thing on there, and then you just keep connecting hangers. But then you'd have to put him on a building, like the Empire State Building or something, so you could keep hanging hangers down. Wonder how many before it just took the ear off or took the earlobe off. Here's something slightly off topic. Have you ever seen those when they got the big gauges like that and someone blows one out and it's just like a dangling piece of meat? It's like, what's one of the worst ideas you've ever had in your life? Oh, I don't know. He's got a piece of meat hanging down. There was this time. I mean, it's really hard to come up with ideas, something that I've done that, that I regret. I mean, I can't. Let's see. Miss Althea on Creed. Have never been a big fan, so that story was lost on me. However, I will award bonus points to you for the impromptu riff on Dr. Hook and the Medicine Show's cover of The Rolling Stone. I just saw them. They were kind of like, I saw a clip of them. And they were kind of like the Dexy and the Midnight Runners band of the time, right? Kind of Sha-na-na-y, but talented. Gonna buy 5 copies for my mother. So, impromptu Dr. Hook and the Medicine Show cover of the Rolling Stone. Gonna buy 5 copies for my mother. Is that in part in the song? Miss Althea says Iron Man and the Bear. That was the bear that was up in the tree. They were going to try and bring him down with some Black Sabbath. I also immediately honed in on the suspicious-looking aircraft and said, what bear? If only episodes of The Osbournes Want to Believe were still in production, it would be hilarious if that clip ended up on it. Yes. They're seeing lots more things flying around in the sky, We call them UAPs now. Unidentified UAP. Artifact protocol. They're seeing a lot more of them. Projectile. Unidentified aircraft projectile. Miss Althea on Iron Man the Bear. I also immediately honed in. Okay, we've read that, damn it. It would be hilarious. It could have been on Miss Althea on Kiss Dynasty album. Topic revisited. I am with you in that it's one of my top faves for their catalog. And I always thought Charisma was the perfect kickoff to side 2. It's a great song. I think the album holds a soft spot for me since the Dynasty Tour was the very first time I ever saw Kiss live. I was a little awestruck 13-year-old. Dirty Livin'. There it is. I was thinking Easy Livin' for some reason, but Dirty Livin' was the song from Peter. Ace had Hard Times and Save Your Love in addition to 2000 Man, which was actually a Rolling Stone cover. Oh. That's interesting. I've never heard their version of it. Is 21st Century Digital Boy a cover of somebody? I know the Bad Religion version of it, but Miss Althea on Point Break soundtrack. Topic revisited. I like that. I'm liking the topic revisited. Yes, Rat sure does have an official music video for Nobody Rides for Free. Hint, 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 considering this is a no request zone. We're putting it on. I just wanted to make sure. I was lazy. I didn't want to, look it up myself. But now that we have confirmed that, we're doing it. Miss Althea, Potpourri topic revisited. Yes, John Stamos, was on General Hospital. He rose to teen idol popularity in the 80s as the character of Blackie Parrish. Didn't know any of this. The Edge of the Night, the show Lori Loughlin was on, was another soap opera that aired after General Hospital. Oh. Which was at 4 p.m. out here on the East Coast. It was canceled in the mid-'80s after the many local markets decided to drop it in favor of game shows or talk shows in that time slot. Yep. Jerry Springer, Jenny Jones, Ricky Lake, Oprah Winfrey, Geraldo Rivera, Phil Donahue. I don't know who we're thinking of with Hannibal. I don't know who you were thinking of with Hannibal after Dark Angel. Jensen Ackles went on to Smallville and then landed the co-lead as Dean Winchester on Supernatural. Yeah, it's not the same guy then. More recently, he was on the crime drama Big Sky. Was that the one with Sissy Spacek? The Alien, the Portal, whatever? The Amazon Prime series, The Boys. Oh! He was on the crime drama Big Sky and the Amazon Prime series, The Boys. I need to get to the rest of those. I've watched 2 seasons, but I feel like now I need to go back and watch them again so I can be on track, but then I never get to the 3rd season. He is besties with Corey Taylor. Jensen Ackles. He's besties with Corey Taylor. You did a video autopsy at my request a couple years back of the 2 of them singing Bon Jovi's Wanted Dead or Alive together. That's ringing a bell with me now. Wow, that's some stuff. All right, fantastic. Miss Althea, there's your heart. And then this fella right here smoking a big old Bernie. That looks like a cigar, to be honest with you. Mike Binkowski, our pal from Poland. He says, "Hi, Shane. I have a suggestion for you. Oceans of Slumber, where gods fear to speak." Now, I cannot, in good conscience, give you that heart because, well, you haven't earned it. But we will do it because I have a question about that. Ocean of Slumber. Did anyone watch? It's on YouTube. You can watch the whole thing, but it was that Battle of the Bands that Alice Cooper did with the guy, from the guitar player guy from Animals as Leaders and stuff. Do you remember that? I think Lizzie Hale was a judge. Remember that? Oceans of Slumber sounds familiar to me as if that was the band that actually... But then again, he does a lot of Polish bands, so maybe I'm thinking of the wrong thing. But I'm going to have to leave you hanging. Mike, I'm going to have to leave you hanging. But I shall not leave the rest of you hanging because I'll tell you what. Get out there, seize the day. There is a palpable energy in the sky that is saying you can change things. Have I mentioned, I don't go too deep into it, but I still haven't had a single drop of alcohol since October. I may again, I may not again, but that is something I never thought I could ever do. I bet you the longest I ever went without at least an ice cold, delicious fucking beer on a hot day. Oh, and just foaming over. A little bit runs down the hand. Nice big heaving swallow like this. Just like. And you say, oh yeah. You know, delicious damn beer. I may have one again, but that's something I never thought I could achieve. I've lost weight. I feel like my blood pressure's better. You know, don't sell yourself short. And I also heard another great kind of idea about, you know, I'm really into this kind of living in the moment, living right now, living in this. You are here with me right now listening to this podcast. That is where you're at, hearing my voice, listening to me now. I like that. And there was this professor that was talking about a great analogy for living in the moment. You have a stack of dirty dishes that is your past. And you got to get to them. You got to wash them all or whatever. But there's a big stack on this side. And then there's a big stack of what ifs and future problems over here, right? But right in front of you, you hold the dish in your hand. If you stay in the moment, you are only ever washing one dish instead of looking at the piles of shit that you have to be focused on. What if this and that? Stay in the moment. You'll find yourself happier. Time lasts longer. It seems to last longer for me. Anyways, get out there and do it. Do the thing that you know you need to do. Set yourself right. Come original. You gotta come original. Come original. You gotta. Let's get a pattern here. Let's go for it, baby. What are we, freaks? Let's live. wish I could do something with them bongo beats and stuff, but I'm just... There used to be a way, I thought there was a way where you could hit tones and like start songs and stuff. Someone that knows this shit better than me would say, yeah, Shane, there is. Let's hit a tune.